Okay, so we're going to work on our first problem set. So where we have in the past been following along with the videos, now I'm going to give you, based on the CS50's output, a series of problems to write queries to output the solution or the answer to the questions that are posed. So this is really taking what you've learned and seeing how well you can translate these concepts. So what I'm going to do in this video is walk you through what you need to do to accomplish this in our class. But I will start by showing you the page on CS50 for Cyber Chase, which is a PBS show that was aired in 2002. It was a way to show that math is everywhere and everyone can be good at it, which is such a great concept, right? And then here's the database. So the way that CS50 has students do this is going to be a little different from the way that I do, but I just wanted to show you this page to give you a visual on that. Okay, so for our work, I have opened the instructions. Let me scroll up to the top. Right, so we're going to do 1 through 7. And what does that mean? I'll show you in a second, but it's basically 7 problems that you will write queries for. Okay, and I have my code space already open. So now here's the part I'm going to talk to you, and then I will talk to you about what you need to do for this setup, and then I will show you the results in my setup, but I won't do it step by step because by now I hope that you can translate both the written content and my visual to accomplish this. Okay, so create a new folder at the same level as W1, W2 querying and name it PS0. Then inside that folder, create another folder called Cyber Chase. So we'll end up doing 2 of the problem sets because I think there's a total of 3 for each one. We'll do at least 2. So first do that, and then change your current folder, right, to Cyber Chase, this new folder you created, and then use the following command to copy the database, right? So this is the curl command we've seen before. Right, this is the file once it's copied over, and this is the target from where it's coming, right? And now once you've done that and you see that Cyber Chase database show up, now create a file to store the queries in, name it part1-q queries, and a readme file with the heading for each problem 1 through 7, and commit with setup complete. Ooh, I'm missing a quote. So I'm going to show you in mine what this looks like. So I have the subdirectory, so PS0, Cyber Chase. In Cyber Chase, I've got the database file. Again, I wouldn't try to click on it because right now we haven't loaded an extension for that. We'll do that later. We have the query file, I have the readme file, and in here I have problem set 0 part 1, and then I have problem 1 as a heading 2 all the way to 7. And so in our README file, what you're going to end up doing is what we call authentication of work. So in the proof of work is just showing the output of the query, but in authentication of work, it will be what you did to get the query working. And I'll show you how to create the required output here as we move through. Okay, so now I got that part done. Now, so for each problem, so let's just scroll down and look at the problems before we talk about it. We'll talk about the schema, which is basically the structure of the database. But first, here is the 7 problems you will write queries to give the answer to. So a question, a query, and then the answer is the output. So write an SQL query to list all the titles of all episodes in Cyber Chase Original Season 1. Okay? So that's my first one, and I'm actually going to do this one with you to kind of help you understand what I'm looking for in the output. Of course, I want you to have the resulting number of listing of titles, and actually below here you can actually see how many you need for this first one. So this gives you a guide, and I'm also going to show you in the work is how to actually quickly, because we're going to learn count later. But for now, I'll show you a quick way to just know if you got the number of rows correctly. The columns are pretty easy to see. Okay, so let's scroll back up now that we know what each problem is. So for each problem, right, you need to do, right, is write the query in the Q1 P1-Q file and make sure you get the correct output. Now this process of getting the correct output is actually the part of where you're authenticating the work that you did, because typically nobody, very few, maybe in the beginning of writing some of these queries you may get it the first time, and it's generally a process, and what I'm looking for is what process did you go through, right, to actually solve this particular problem, and I'll show you how to document that in a minute. Right, and as we did on the other output is like open another terminal session, and I'll show you this in my setup because I have it ready, to change the standard output to send to, and this is your proof of work file. Remember, this is actually just the output of the query, showing that the query actually worked. The authentication is showing how you got there. Okay, and then you do query your commit message number 1, query in POV, and actually I should say in here the README complete for that one. You'll probably see an updated one here when you look at that. And then as before we saw in our homework, once you get the first one done, then you comment that out and start working on your second one. And you'll use that same file as we did, just commenting out as you're working through. And then each time after you get it working, documenting your authenticate your work and doing your POV. Okay, so let me move back over here. All right, so in here, here's my file. I have, now this is where I went in after I started 3 different sessions. This session is where I'm going to test my query. This session is where I'm going to actually write, and I'll show you this where I actually write the proof of work file when I get it done. And this is my Git workflow. I mentioned this in the instruction. I didn't show it last time, so I thought I'm going to show it now. And if you remember, I just add sessions, and then when you add these sessions, you can right-click and rename them. So these are just names I gave them to make this easy for me. Okay, so I'm set up, I'm ready to go. And before I get started here, I'd probably want to spend a little time looking at, let me go back here, the schema. Okay, so in the schema, these are all the columns in here, right, in this cyber Chase DB, and in this case we have a single table called episodes. So when we were doing the long list was longlist.db and the single table was long list. So I just want you to know they're different here, which is the first thing you want to know when you're starting to write these queries is they are there's a different table name, right? And of course we're so used to at this point writing long lists, you'll just take a few times, at least I did, to get used to writing Cyber Chase. Okay, all right. So I've already written my SQL, right? I'm in that directory for each of these. You can see this. I've already cleared that because I was playing around. So now what I would do here, right, for writing my first one is I would probably first just kind of check out the data. And now I could actually do this. Let's just come back here just to keep in mind the right one that we're doing so we have it in front of us. So I would want to get familiar with this data, right? This schema, okay, looks great, right? And it seems like it gives me a lot of good information. I definitely want to do that. So one thing I'd probably do, instead of writing, just actually do that standard, show me everything, right? Now, could I do this in the SQL file? Sure. I'm going to have to get rid of it, but yeah, I could do it, right? And then I would say from, and this is where, right, we have to get used to that, right? Cool. So then this shows me, right? Oh yeah, there we go. Now I haven't done box here for a reason, and I'll show you that because I actually would do the box output over here when I write to the file, and there's a reason I'm saying that. So just FYI. So now I'd take a look at this data, and if I scroll up to the top, I could kind of go, okay, I have a lot of data right here, and I can see that, okay, so it looks like 1, 1, 1. Wonder what that is. So I'd say, okay, ID of the row, season, episode in season. Now, why would I need an episode in season, right? Which episode number within a given season. And the reason you have this is sometimes, this is fairly common in these kind of, or actually any kind of episodic television or series, is you could play a episode from a different season. the title of it, the topic, right? The air date, and you can see that here, and then the production. So then I would just kind of take a little time and go, okay, all right, episode, number, title, right? Topic, air date, and production. Okay, I got it. So now I'm like, I spend a little time. I could write more queries if I want, right? So this first one, right, might be my first, proof of work that I actually went in there and looked around and played with that. So now let's actually start writing it. So I would say select probably first because I'd want to see the title and I'd want to see the season. Okay, and I'd say from. Now this is where, right? Now I could just do that, would at least give me those two fields because I title and season. So I could come down here, right? And again, I'm still just testing my query out, right? So I could do .read my p1.q.sql. Okay, all right, cool, right? So I can see each episode now. I'm getting that same list, but now I'm actually at least started to hone it down to what I want. I can see the titles of all of them. Okay, all right, cool. So I'm getting there. So now what do I need to do is I need to actually specify where. Okay, where what? Where season, let's go back and look at this, right? Where my season, my original season was season 1. Originally showed, or titles for episode, original season 1. Okay, cool. So then I would say now season, right? Because that's the column I want, equals 1. Okay. So now I should get a smaller list, right? So now what I've done is my proof of work, right? I've done two things as my proof of work that I actually did this, right? I could actually copy that first query that I did, right, into my proof of work. Now I have my second one, right? Actually, no, let me copy that a little better than I did. Oh, this one right here, right? So this one, actually, I could even have copied the first one. There we go. Okay. So this shows me the steps you took because you could also, matter of fact, this would be fairly common that might accidentally have put seasons in there, right? And so if you get a syntax error, that's definitely good because it shows, yeah, you're writing. Let's try it now. Let's read it. And now this error would be a great proof of work because this is a fairly common thing. Typically, nobody writes these things right the first time. Okay, so then I'd come over here. I'd be like, yeah, I got that error. Okay, and really you're just basically showing, because here's the deal, right? We all know there's ways you could go find these answers, and what you're really doing is I'm just making you prove, to a bit that you actually did this. Okay, so now, right? So now I at least, let's try it again. Yeah, cool. That looks right. Now can I test? Can I figure out how many came back? Now, I could just count them, but man, that seems like a pain, right? So before I do my proof of work, I'm going to show you, this is not required. This is just something, because we're going to learn count later. I talked about that. But on this testing, I would also do this. I do output, and I do count.txt. And then what I would do is I would run that query again, right? Because notice it created that. And if I did this right, actually this showed up before. And it's so funny. This showed up, actually it shows up as 20. Let's see. Is that right? Yeah, 26. Sorry, that's right. So 26. So I got it right. I got exactly the number it said I should have gotten back, which is awesome. So now I know not only did I get the, I actually got the right count. I got one. Now I would ask my question. Now I would read this even closer, and I would say that list all the episode titles. Oh, okay. So in that instance, what would I change here? I'd get rid of this, right? And now when I get rid of that, right, now I'm going to do standard output. I'm going to read again. Good. And if I just kind of glance at that file, the last one should be out of sync. That looks good, right? And so now I'm ready to come over to here, right? So now here I would do dot output, and now I want to actually do this to my proof of work, right? My proof of work file. My proof of work file up here, right? There it is, POW P1, right? So I do POW proof of work P1.txt, and now every time I get a query working, right? I do read p1.q.sql. Great. Oh, and actually in this case I do, because I like now, by the way, look, that's cool, right? That shows them all. Probably for the next time I do this, right, for the next one, I would go ahead and do mode box. So when I come back and I do my next one, then my next one would have that formatting. Again, I don't, I like the way that looks, but okay. So now I got these two done. I've shown the steps I took. There was actually some others. You'd want to include those. Any errors you got, what different types, how did the query evolve over time, right? Again, and some of these early ones might be straightforward, but as you get towards the bottom, you definitely should have some rounds that you've done here. So, and then I've got my proof of work. So now I can go to here, and if you look on the documentation file, it actually shows you query 1, and I'll change this to read. So let's just actually do that. So I do git add star git commit -m, and I do 1 dot query POW proof of work read me. And I'd say complete. Okay. Cool. So now I have that done. So now I go back to my query file. I comment that one out, and I start working on my second one, right? So I start working on the second one. So then I'd go back down here, and you have to list. Now I'm not going to do the rest of these with you. I just wanted to show you that first one, right? And these are helpful for sure. You want, because this will help you determine if you have the right output, and then this shows you how I grade it. Okay, so I know it took a little bit here. I don't require the count, but man, was it helpful for me when I quickly wanted to just see. And by the way, just to say this, when you actually then get ready to do, you get the next one done and you want to count that one up. Now the next one probably, I think, doesn't require it as much, because you're only going to get, oh yeah, you would do 14, so that one will be good. So here's what I would do on that one, is because now you've done the standard out, again on this testing session out, right, and then I do count.txt, because then it clears that file. We kind of take advantage of that idea of what I showed you before, is like every time you do that, it creates that new file. We don't want that to happen on your proof of work, but here it's nice to have it happen. Okay, so to submit it, your commit history onto this one, that's how you submit it. I really look forward to seeing your output on this. Reach out if you need help.